welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be saying goodbye to a great machine. I consider it an old friend, although I've only had it for 2 years. Today I'm going to be doing a review of my 2020 Can-Am Outlander XTP Max 1000R. Fantastic machine. I'm trading it in on another machine. You know, maybe I'm going to start off with the cons. I'll make Polaris and other manufacturers happy. I'm going to start off with the cons because I don't think there's that many. First con that I have about the machine, and it's a minor one, but it's significant, especially if you're coming off a Polaris, is that on the Can-Am you tend to sit up higher on the machine as opposed to a Polaris where I think you're sitting lower on the machine. So Can-Am, you're higher on the machine, more on top of it. Your center of gravity, especially for big guys like myself, is a little higher, and it takes a while to get used to. You think the machine is tipping, really it's not. You're just used to a machine that's a little lower, or feels a little lower, like a Polaris or maybe another manufacturer. So a minor criticism is that you sit up a little higher on the Can-Am. Because of that, I had to put, I believe these were 1.5 inch handlebar risers on the ATV, which made a big difference. The handlebars just felt too low stock. I had to bring them up where my forearm was more level, like it would be on a Polaris, my big bore Polaris machines. Second criticism, of course, you all know it because we've talked about it, is the oil changes on the machine. Not fun. Man, I think the last one I was pretty well prepared for, and it took me maybe 3.5 hours all told to get the oil change done. That's crankcase oil and the transmission oil, and that's just a long time. If I hadn't done my previous machine, my XTP 1000R, which was the short frame model, that one probably took me close to 5 hours to do. I just didn't know what I was doing. So oil change would be a con or a negative on this machine. Maybe if I'm really going to nitpick the machine, I'll say tire size. I wish it had a taller tire on the machine. These are ITP Terracross. These are ITP Terracross 26-inch tires in diameter. I wish that it came with maybe a 27-inch tire, maybe a little wider tire up front. Polaris does a good job with that, and I'll talk about the tires a little later in the video. But I wish the tires were a little bit bigger on the machine, and we'll get to the tires later in the video. Heat. Can-Ams run hot. You have to be ready for that. I read people that had burned their legs when they were riding them. I'm presuming they were not in jeans or riding pants that I always wear for safety. Highly recommend riding pants. Mine are Fly, great brand. I think they're called Fly Enduro pants. They're long, over the boot pants. And the heat, the machine got hot. Not nearly as hot as my 2019 Outlander XTP, but the 20 was a little cooler, got hot, nothing that wasn't manageable in my opinion, and I was on this machine in 90-degree days, going on some difficult trails and steep hills. I think that's all the negatives I have, or cons, on this machine. Let's talk about the positives. First, quality. I think quality, the Can-Am machine, this machine will compete with any in the market. So if you're looking for a big bore machine that's quality, I don't think there's any that are better than this machine. I think it's tops in quality all the way around, from paint and finish to mechanicals on the machine. And let me state that this machine has 460 miles on it, just under 60 hours. My other one that I traded in, the 2019, I think had over 700 miles, 75 hours, 80 hours, and I would say the same about that. Quality on the machine from front to back, including the accessories, I think is as good as any brand out there. My number one, quality is important. Looks. I say this on my channel before. You spend most of your time looking at the machine in your garage, whether it's a tractor, excavator over there, sitting in my backyard, I look at it from my back window, side-by-side or ATV, motorcycle or car. Most of the time you're looking at it in the garage if you're working in the garage. You really can't see the looks of the machine. So I say, put the technical specifications to one side. Do you like the way the machine looks? I just love the way this machine looks. I love the black and yellow combination. When I saw it, I loved it. And remember, I drove my 2019 short chassis version. I drove that and didn't buy it, and it sat at the dealership for 6 months, went back and bought it in the spring, and then bought this one maybe 8 or 9 months later, I think. But the looks of the machine, quick walk around. Try to get out as it's shade, sunny day. Just a beautiful machine. Just a beautiful machine. I put this side by side with a Polaris Sportsman 1000 machine, big bore machine, side by side, because I thought the Polaris was bigger. I thought the Polaris was wider. I thought it was taller. I thought it was bigger. I put it next to this machine in the showroom. I'm sorry, my other one, the short chassis model. And this is definitely a bigger machine for the Polaris than a Polaris. And remember, in 2019 they made the machine, this ATV, an inch wider, and I think they put arched A-arms on the front of the machine. They have trailing arms on the back. They made it at least an inch wider. It showed on the showroom. It shows on the performance of the machine, the looks of the machine. Fantastic looking machine. Why did I always want a Can-Am? And I put off the purchase of a Can-Am because of the Visco-Lok, but why I wanted a Can-Am? The engine. The V-twin Rotax engine. I don't care whatever model you're looking at in a Can-Am. Fantastic engine. Just amazing. Smooth. Reliable. Powerful, low-end torque. I had criticisms on some of the other ATVs I had. Ton of high-end power, maybe mid-range, low-end torque. The way I ride, slow and steady, you know, you had to wind it up a little bit, and they were loud. The engine, the low-end torque on these Rotax V-twin engines are outstanding. Fuel efficiency is about the same as any big bore engine. Quiet. I've had no issues on either of my Can-Am Rotax 1000 engines, 1000R engines. I've had no issue whatsoever on either machine, and I've also had that similar engine in 2 Defenders and a Maverick in 2016, I think, and no issues with the engine. It's outstanding. A 91 horsepower engine. Let's take a look at it. Give you a view of the engine. The reason I took, was a panel here that was covering the cylinder heads on the engine. The reason I took that off is it's very difficult. This is a con, I guess. Very difficult to wash the mud and dirt off the engine with that cover there. It's completely concealed on the other side. As you can see here, there's plastics covering the engine. I'm sure they probably did that to keep dirt and mud off the machine, and also the heat inside the engine compartment. I found that removing this not only showed off the beautiful engine, the V-twin engine is just outstanding. So removing that small piece of plastic, which is easily put back in, removing it shows off the engine, but I could get in there and wash the engine and also clean down into the frame of the engine, and I don't think it hurt cooling at all. It might even have improved it. So engine on a Can-Am is number one. I would say number one. Instrument cluster. This was the first year they went to their digital instrument cluster. I'll give you a look at that. I did not think that I would like the digital instrument cluster when they changed it over in 2020. I really liked the dial instrument cluster that they had on their previous models for years and years and years. And it was like you were riding a highway cruiser motorcycle. So you have the smoothness of the engine, and then you had those big dials, analog dials, on the old instrument cluster, and I just loved it. Felt really cool out on the trail. I really like this digital instrument cluster. I actually grew to prefer it, and I had both machines at the same time, the 2019 Outlander and 2020, and I grew to really like this instrument cluster. The other one did get water inside it at one point, I can't remember, and this one stayed dry, functions very well, and I like it. What I don't like is on Can-Am's this might be con number 5, is after you change the oil on these newer models, it is difficult to reset the maintenance that you need service that flashes up on the screen. And I just changed the oil on this maybe 4 or 5 hours ago, and I fiddled around trying to reset the maintenance, couldn't do it, looked online, and I could not do that. But instrument cluster is outstanding, controls are outstanding. Another con, don't need to be critical, we know what happened to me on the trail. You have to be conscious of when you're shifting the machine of your forearm. Maybe I should sit on the machine. On taller people like myself, I'm 6'2" roughly. My height is in my body, mostly not my legs, but when you shift the machine, especially if the steering column is turned, my forearm will hit that throttle. Other manufacturers put the shift lever on the left side of the steering, let's say, column area. They put it on the left side, so your forearm, I believe, so it's not near that throttle. And I was lazy, not thinking, I didn't hit the brake in shifting, and the machine lurched, and I had an incident with it. So that would be, I thought I was done with the cons, but I guess I had one more. Let's talk a little bit about the Max itself. I actually prefer the Max, which I believe is 6 to 8 inches longer than the standard Outlander ATV. Especially on the trails that we ride, which have hills. Now, you hill climbers out of Ohio, if you watch this video, are gonna jab me and say our hills are nothing. And compared to what, I think it's Ohio hill climbers, compared to what you guys have run up, you are absolutely right. You go up cliffs, but our hills are pretty steep, and it's the steepest trails I ride in this area. And for someone that's bigger like myself, I like that extra length for stability going up hills. In fact, I actually prefer it. Most likely, if I get back into ATVs, that was a hint on what I'm buying next. If I get back into ATVs, I would seriously look at a 2-up machine again for that extra chassis length. I do not recommend, I'm not a big proponent of 2-up on an ATV, especially if it's not made for it, or engineered for it, I should say. But even on the trails I ride, 2 on an ATV, even with a longer chassis, I'm a little leery of that. If you're experienced and on a groomed trail or something that doesn't have steep hills, then I think you'd probably be fine, but not where I ride, or our group rides. I don't think so. So the chassis, the Max, if you're debating getting a Max and you can afford I think it's $1,200 difference, if you can afford the price tag for a Max over a shorter ATV, go for it. You won't regret it. The ride is nice. Sometimes it rides a little big, and the trail on the rear end portion when you're scooting around trees or rocks, sometimes you feel a little big, sometimes it will push a little bit. You guys know how I ride. I'm not racing around the trail. I'll gun it going straight every once in a while, but I'm pretty slow. I preferred the longer chassis. Great machine. Let's talk about I said a negative about the tires, that they were small in diameter. I wish they were bigger. Let's talk about a positive. The ITP Terracross tire, radial tires on this ATV. Some of you may argue with me what I'm about to say, and that's fine. Put it in your comments. I can take the criticism. I've owned enough ATVs and side-by-sides and UTVs, and I will, for the last, I haven't realized it, for over 20 years now, ITP Terracross tire, radial tire, is the best tire I've had on an ATV. On the trails I ride, they're perfect. The best riding tire, the best all-around traction tire on rocks, dirt, mud, snow. This tire is it. I started off, I think they want you to have 10 PSI in these tires. Guys recommended that I reduce the PSI slowly. I think I might have gotten it down to 5 or 6. I didn't like it. I raised the pressure back up to what they recommended. The tires had excellent traction. They rode well. They actually wear well. And I believe other manufacturers, if you want to send me tires to test them on, I'd be happy to. I think they're the best riding, performance, all-around trail tire there is. ITP, Can-Am, great job putting these on this machine. Can-Am, thank you for putting a quality tire on an ATV. And ITP, excellent job on this tire. It's outstanding. So, I'll talk about another thing, positive thing about this machine. I put my 30-inch cryptic mud tires off my Defender XMR, their rims, on this machine. Very big tire for a machine that's not a mud machine. And I planned to do that when I purchased it. I weighed the tires, checked them out at the dealership if they fit. So I planned to do that because I had the tires, I had my 32-inch Evo 1s on the Defender. This machine handled those tires well in moderate mud conditions. I didn't need to reclutch it, and you know I'm not a crazy mud guy. I didn't need to reclutch it. All I did was take it easy and lug it through mud holes when I was in them. I did get stuck once with those tires. This machine's only been stuck once. I did get stuck in a mud bog, the Hog's Hole at one of the trails we had. It was my own fault. I went into skag, and we have a type of skag in New York, and it just sucked the power out of the machine. I didn't want to burn the belt or break something by trying to spin the tire. I just winched it out. So this drivetrain, if you're trail riding with larger tires, can easily handle it if you use your brain and you're careful with it. You might have to do some work around the fender flares. I wouldn't go to a 30-inch tire. I think you could go to a 27, maybe a 28 mud tire, and this will handle it fine. Certainly the power and the torque. Much criticism on Can-Am stock clutches. I found the clutch to be excellent. This machine takes off when you just touch it above idle. That clutch grabs and pulls you. Where I don't like other machines, you have to put more RPM in to engage the CVT clutch. Excellent clutch on the machine. Excellent transmission for trail riding. Low end torque. This is an 85 mile an hour ATV, I believe. I think I've had it up to 65 on some of my videos, which isn't smart. I wouldn't do that or recommend it. Very fast machine. Doesn't sacrifice anything on the low end. Last comment, or probably not my last one. Visco-Lok. For years I didn't buy Can-Ams because of the Visco-Lok. Other manufacturers had either locking front diffs or all-wheel drives. A Polaris all-wheel drive system is so fast you don't even notice it when it engages and disengages it. Great system. I wasn't interested in a Visco-Lok because the lag of it engages. Lagging time that it takes to fully lock out the front end. I found Visco-Lok not to be a problem at all. Most of the time I run my ATVs in all-wheel drive, and I thought Visco-Lok was fine. You just have to use your brain. When you think you need traction on the front end and you feel it slipping, hold the throttle a little bit. Not high throttle. You can do it just enough for the clutches to engage. The Visco-Lok will engage, stay on the throttle, you'll pull yourself out of trouble. No issues at all. For most people, don't even bother on lockout kits for Visco-Lok. It was fine, and it holds up very well. The downfall on Can-Ams is, I believe, the seals wear out on the universals, and I wasn't to that point, but I found the universals to be excellent on this, and the Visco-Lok was no issue whatsoever. I'm trying to think. I'll make one more comment about the accessories. This machine came with the bumpers on it, the beadlock rims, awesome. It came with a winch. I put the storage box, which is great. You know, I can fit my chainsaw in there. The accessories that came on it were first class. First class. The winch is outstanding. Used it many times to pull other people out. Not only used it once with this machine, great winch. One thing I do on my Can-Am Outlander ATVs, I take the front rack off because it's difficult to clean underneath it. To get under that rack, I take it off. I don't need it for storage, and I like the way they look better with a rack off it. I got that from my Canadian friends, along with taking off that side panel from the Canadian riders I watch up north. Great people. So let's open the border, Canada and Buffalo, New York. Open that border, please. So that's it. That's all I have to say about this beautiful machine. Is I'm turning it in. I'm getting a fair trade-in value on it. I'm purchasing something else. You'll see it on the channel. I might not tell you what I'm getting and let you try to figure it out. Some of you won't have a problem figuring it out right away, but I think you'll be surprised. But Can-Am Outlander Max XTP 1000R, great machine. If you're interested in it, thinking about it, don't hesitate to get it. It's outstanding. Runs, awesome machine. You won't be disappointed in it. With the things I'm putting on it, critical, easily, once you ride it, you can overlook it. I know some people that do, that can do an hour oil change on their machines won't agree with me, but the engine is outstanding. Let's crank her up. Typically what I do on the machine is I'll hit the start button with the switch off, kind of wake up the brain of the machine, flick the switch. Performance key is in it. Look at what it idles at. Listen to how it idles. Quiet. Getting in the shadows here a little bit. Quiet. I like that at my age. I don't want something noisy for my neighbors or to have annoy neighbors on a trail with a loud muffler. Think about that. I'd encourage you, don't put loud mufflers on your machine. It's a quiet machine. I like that. I like the light on the storage box. No regrets. No regrets with this machine. A little rev. Even revving, it's still quiet. 91 horsepower. I believe it hit 91 horsepower, the most horsepower out of any ATV on the market. Might be Polaris by 2 horsepowers. Polaris might be 89, 88 horsepower. No big deal. That's it. Don't know if I can edit this video down. It's kind of long. Marauders, welcome back to the channel. I hope you consider subscribing to my channel, sharing this video with a friend, and I hope you liked it and will give me a thumbs up on it. Get out and ride the great outdoors, or do something outdoors. I decided to do this in my backyard. I think I call this area my property Shiloh, like the name of after Civil War battles. Thank you. Oh, I got a new meter, new software, and I like it very much. If you can read that, it says 81. I think that's pretty good. It's time for supper. Marauders, I hope to see you on the channel. Thank you and God bless. Special thank you to my friend Eva and Al for these glasses I'm wearing. They give them to me as gifts and they're just beautiful. Hope you like them. They're for souls. Thank you and God bless.